How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the review show. I'm your host, Dave Reed. This week we're going to look at a couple of new releases in the cinema and a couple of TV shows online that might be worth checking out. My guests this week are Kearns, animator and filmmaker Dave O Sullivan.
Cheers, Dave. Good to be here.
Hi, Dave.
It's great to have you guys. Great to have you. So the first film this month we went to see was Whiplash. Okay, this is a story of a young jazz drummer and a relationship with his mentor / music teacher. This is Miles Teller playing the young drummer and J.K. Simmons as his mentor. And written and directed by Damien Chazelle, I must say, very talented young man. Lads, what did you think of the film?
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I went in, like Lee I think as well, we both went in with blank slates, didn't know much about the film, got in there and was literally from the first frame to the last frame glued to the screen. The intensity the whole way through was just superb. I thought it was excellent.
I have to agree with Dave there. I went in with a completely blank slate, knew very little about the movie itself, and I was thoroughly surprised by what I got.
And what grabbed you about the movie? What was it that, what was it that got you?
For me, I think the opening of a movie a lot of time will set the precedence for the rest of it. And the first act when it opened up, it was just how personal the moments were in it, how the cinematography was just focusing on personal moments all the time. There was not much else going on in the background. It was extremely focused filmmaking. The editing was just bang on point. It's like there was you never got a moment to think of anything else except for the tiny moments that people were feeling, the characters were feeling all the time. It was just a total focus on what people were feeling, the intensity of their emotion.
And Lee, what did you like? I mean, it's almost it's the pursuit of perfection.
Well, I think what Dave was talking about there, the focus of the film, you could draw parallels to the main character's focus on his love for music and the striving to be one of the greats, as he says. So,
well, he kind of starts out as a bit of a victim at the start, the Miles Teller character.
You do kind of feel a little bit sorry for him.
As the movie goes on, you notice...
Yeah, that's what I thought was great about the film, is that like so many times through the film I was sitting there and going, okay, I think I know where this is going. And then it's not, because the characters develop so well, they change so much and so naturally in the film.
Yeah.
That
I get where you come from.
Yeah. So like it was just like
and you wouldn't have known much, like I wouldn't have known much about the jazz world.
No,
it seems to be the top. I mean, in terms of
musical
terms.
In musicianship, jazz is supposed to be very high in terms of like classical and jazz. A lot of people have a debate which is more I suppose musically elite. And you know, people say, "Oh, classical is or jazz is." I suppose it's two different forms, but definitely it is an elite form of music.
There's a lot of Oscar buzz about this film, so do you think it's warranted?
Yeah, well, I do. Yeah, I think it was nominated for 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Oh, totally thumbs up, 100%.
Oh yeah, I have to agree with the lads. It's a thumbs up. Right, lads. Cheers for that.
No bother.
My name is Colin Brown. I'm the owner of Film Equipment Hire. We're a rental house near Dublin Airport. My top 5 films are Escape to Victory is a 1981 movie directed by John Huston, and it stars Michael Caine, Sylvester Stallone, Pele, Ozzy Ardiles, and it's probably one of the greatest sports movies ever made. It's magnificent. High Plains Drifter, it's starring and directed by Clint Eastwood. He plays a character with no name who enters a town called Lego, and he's hired by the locals to protect him, and the price for this protection is revenge. Jaws is a 1979 movie directed by Steven Spielberg. It was probably one of the first ever blockbuster movies ever made. It was an epic battle between man and nature, and for me it's just a movie I can watch over and over again. There was one movie that I started watching, I hadn't intended on watching the whole thing. It was called The Tin Drum, and after about 10 minutes I just became enthralled with it and watched the whole movie. So it was based on a novel written by Gunter Grass. I suppose it can be best described as a European version of Forrest Gump. For me, it's a must-see film for anyone who hasn't seen it. Stand By Me was a 1986 movie. It was written by Stephen King and directed by Rob Reiner. It was I guess a coming of age movie about 4 young kids who hear about a body that's on the side of the tracks, not far from where they live, and they go on an adventure to see the body. And it was, for me, it was just a great movie.
Well, to be involved in the arts, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. The arts are, there's no barriers or boundaries with arts. The arts are a great equaliser. The idea really was to link all the agencies in the area, because there's an awful lot of activity in this area. It's become, Darndale Bellcamp has become a hub of activity. We have the Village Centre, which is the administration centre, and the New Life Centre is like a community centre. And then we have Dublin City Council, and we have, you know, a little square and a chipper and a shop, and there's an awful lot in the area.
The samba drumming workshops that I do always involve the music curriculum, the primary school curriculum. So you're talking about pulse and tempo, rhythm, dynamics, tone. I do it all over the country. But this one here at Bellcamp, it's a whole week of arts and events going on. And it's fantastic. It's just brilliant for the kids to get a taste and a feel of all of these things. Loads of schools don't get it as much as this place. They really work hard to make it happen here. A drum in, hit, bang, and you're in. And suddenly, some of the children who may have a harder time in school can find they can go for the drumming straight away. So suddenly the class is level, and it's great from a self-esteem point of view for all the kids as well as it fitting in with the music curriculum.
They're immersed in the arts for the week. They've got musicians, zumba dancing, samba drumming, comedy sketches, and really an incredible selection of stuff.
They come straight into the story, and I think it's a great benefit for them from the point of view that it's a live performance. It's not somebody else's imagination with a PlayStation and things like that, and they see one another. It's a social thing where, rather than we say just watching television, they're there in a group, and they're actually in a safe environment in their school with their friends and everything like that. And I think it's a very good thing for them, you know. Well, I'll tell you now, the festival here, this is my second year at it, is absolutely fantastic. And I really mean that. I tell you, I get the energy from them, because when you see the little eyes, you know, and they're looking up at you, and they're believing, is he really a good wolf? Yeah, did the 3 little pigs do that? Children are familiar with the story originally, but if you challenge their view of it, they're more likely to come into the story and argue with you. Nothing succeeds like laughter, and it brightens up the day, you know.
Because the children are affected by the arts, they're affected by what they've seen, they're affected by the energy of the artists, from the poets to the storytellers to the writers and the musicians and the dancers and the theatre people. You know, it's just been such a joy, and that has a direct impact on them going home, on the families that they go home to. They'll bring that story home.
My name is Kevin Rowe, and my occupation is I have a company called Kevin Rowe Events. We're an events company. Okay, so I grew up in a little village called Ballybuckle in North County Dublin. It would be a very rural community, so it would be about 15-20 minutes out past Swords. So So some of the surrounding towns, be the likes of Luss, Old Town, the Knoll and stuff. Great community spirit in Ballybuckle. The last couple of years might have been tough in terms of there would have been a lot of construction based people living out here and stuff like that. But I think now in the last year or two it's definitely picked up. Stuff like there's a new coffee shop that's just opening. There's a pub that's been closed for the last number of years. It's actually opening very, very soon. So yeah, I think the spirit in the village is definitely picking up. It was brilliant. It was great in a sense in terms of, everybody knew each other. I think if you're living in a city centre kind of scenario, or the likes of maybe Coolock or Tain or any of these places. I mean, they're such vast places in terms of there's a huge population. But the likes of living out in Ballybuckle, yeah, I think you develop really close friendships with people and stuff like that. In terms of GA, I would have played for the GA team for the last number of years and stuff. So my dad was a meteorologist, so he's a retired meteorologist. He worked in Met Éireann for the last 40 years. My brother's a guard, so he's working as a guard for the last 6-7 years in Store Street. So yeah, it's a lot of civil servants. So where I came from, who God only knows, I was probably adopted. I finished school when I was 17. Directly leaving school, I probably wasn't the nicest kid in school in terms of right up to my junior cert. I would have been the teacher's pet. The last 2 years of school, then I kind of went down the wrong road. I got a really poor leaving cert. Didn't get a great leaving cert. I mean, I'm not going to tell you the amount of points I got, but it's nothing to write home about. I got a course in DIT in Bolton Street, and it was transport and mechanical engineering. And God only knows why I'd done that course, but I didn't really have many options at the time. So I lasted about 4 or 5 months in that course. I worked in a local company in the village. Still didn't have a clue. I think at that age, most people don't have a clue what they want to do. Like, a lot of people only find out what they want to do in their mid-20s, 30s. I'm a firm believer in that. So I got a trade and I decided to become a plumber. And I remember when I decided to get into construction, I remember 1 or 2 people saying to me that this thing is going to come off the rails in 2 years. You're mad getting into it, like. So after 2 years then I was kind of in and out of work and stuff like that. But while all that was going on, I was always very, very busy. So in the evenings I would have done a lot of sales work. So I started working with a company called Euphony Communications. Did I love anything what I was doing? Probably the best thing I loved was the sales element of it. I loved selling the products because I was a firm believer in what I was selling. During all of that as well, I would have started a lot of different music nights in Dublin city centre. I would have brought over certain DJs and stuff like that. There was one guy in particular, a Belgian DJ, I won't mention his name, but we brought him over, and myself and the other promoter, we thought that this guy was going to be the next big thing, and we spent thousands on him. We 5-star accommodation, flights, you name it, he got everything. I think only 40 people showed up on the night, so that was a huge lesson. It was a horrible lesson, but I think you learn from all these things. I'm very, very creative. I think I've been, I know 1 or 2 people don't think I'm creative, but I know I am pretty creative. It's a sector that I think you need to be creative, What I do believe, with event management is you just need to be very, very focused. You need a lot of clarity in terms of where you're going, and you just need to basically work your ass off as much as you can, and I think you'll get a lot of luck on the way. Well, I love every single minute of what I'm doing. Like, I know people say that, if you find what you love doing, you won't work a day in your life, which, to be honest with you, is complete rubbish. Because there's a lot of the times it's very, very stressful, but the rewards are there. I love the idea of being able to go any single direction. The beauty, I suppose, in terms of my own business would be that I suppose I started this roughly about 2 years ago, and it was still on the tail end of a recession. Now what I'm seeing is that especially corporates are starting to get their budgets back. People are starting to spend. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really exciting couple of years. There's a couple of things. The first thing will be to be persistent in what you're doing, and you need to have clarity in what you're doing. you're going to have to be prepared to take a lot of knocks along the way. So I'm a firm believer that to keep on plugging, keep on trying. People say, you know, some people are lucky. Well, I'm a firm believer that you make your own luck. You know, I remember coming up to a toll, I didn't even have money to pay the toll, like. That's how bad it was, like, you know. And I look back and all that sort of stuff, and all of that sort of stuff kind of, it makes you who you are. The final thing will be just to remember exactly where you came from. You know, I started from nothing. You know, 2.5 years later, you know, I have a business and I have a very, very good reputation. The events that I've done, they speak for themselves. It's about bringing it on to the next level.
So this is Will Kinsella interview take 1.
Hi, I'm Will Kinsella. I'm a DJ, producer, promoter, journalist, radio presenter, sound engineer, based in Dublin, in Ireland. I suppose I was first exposed to the music industry through pirate radio, and that was in the 90s, because pirate radio was everywhere. You know, every time you turn on the radio station you could hear electronic music, so that was my real first exposure to it, you know. The first figure in electronic music that I was really inspired by was Jeff Mills, and that was simply because my friend gave me a load of his WJLB tapes when I was in school. And then leading into The Exhibitionist, that kind of opened my eyes into a whole new realm of DJing and performance, which I think still to this day Jeff is one of the biggest influences, even if I don't play exactly the type of music he plays. My first foray into the music industry, I guess, would have been in 2001 when I went to third level college in Dublin, and I set up the DIT DJ Society. And that was basically, I suppose, a vehicle to help people get gigs, provide platforms for people to practice, play in public for the first time. We set up a DJ school, we bought equipment that people could use, we had DJs playing in the common areas, that kind of thing. So the DJ Society was really there as, I suppose, a vehicle for people to express themselves, and it was also my first real learning experience in the music industry. Basically contacted every radio station in the country from the Hot Press Annual, and one station got back to me, that was Radio Naliffa, which is a legitimate station, but an Irish language station. So they contacted me and said, look, you know, how's your Irish? I said, it's not great. They brought me in for a meeting. That was pretty obvious, I think, so they put me on at 1:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. And from there, I moved to midnight on Tuesday, where I was for 2 years, and then I got a slot on Thursdays at 9 o'clock. And while there, I got scouted by somebody in RTE. They rang up the station, asked for my number, they gave me a call and asked if I'd be interested in joining RTE, and that was just over 6 years ago, October 2008. So I'm still in RTE, working with RTE Pulse every week, and I've been working with 2FM for the last 2 years as well.
America's the biggest gang in the world.
It's called Dinosaur Cowboy. Woo! later in a magazine. She get around. She get around. She get around. Ho! Hey! Down store cowboy, don't you ever come near me. 'Cause you ain't getting no action, just that easily. So I bought her a drink and said, what you think about her coming home, me? That's how when that's how it goes. She get it all up for free. She's a dime store cowboy. Woo!
Yeah. Woo. Yeah.